I'm Alexander Lord Sterling, and my guest, Jeff DeVillay. Dr. Digo had dental surgery today, so he's off for a well-deserved break. Jeff's been on with me before. He's one of my oldest friends, and he's a commentator on a variety of issues. He's also from a very old family. His direct descendant of the Marquis de Lafayette, who was a hero of the American Revolution. And, Jeff, let's get right into it. The Iraqi troops have fled one of their biggest cities, Ramadi, and ISIS.
Part of the plan.
Yeah. You know, look, al-Baghdadi, who, depending on which source you want to hear, is still in charge or is recuperating from wounds, the great leader of ISIS. He, in reality, is from Israel. He's an Israeli Jewish guy. He's an actor and a Mossad agent. And the CIA and Mossad, they set up. They set it up. It's all scam.
Right, and you know, it's interesting that I read these things, I hear stories and read stories about ISIS and these sorts of things when, you know, a lot of these things are just smoke and mirrors and the laser bouncing in another direction and there's really no substance to, they're artificial conflicts in order to divert attention for the most part.
Well, they want a third world war. Albert Pike, who was had been a Confederate general in the American Civil War and ended up probably the top Satanist in the United States and a very senior high-level Mason, he wrote a letter that was displayed in the British Library for years until Rothschild got on the board of directors, and then it disappeared. And the letter was written shortly before the First World War, and he described a series of 3 global wars that would lead the world into a new world order, and how they were setting everything up. Well, he pretty much described World War I and World War II quite well. The Third World War he called a clash of civilizations between the Christian West, and of course with Israel on that side, and the Muslims. And we're constantly, by the mainstream media, being fed a big pile of malarkey about, why we got to get... I think, Jeff, what they're trying to do, and I think on a spiritual level, is they're getting the public to sign on. Well,
here, I'll simplify it for you even more. If you pile the manure deep enough, eventually you'll find a horse.
Yeah. Well, the world we live in today is upside down, and it's all lies and BS. It just
inside out. What can I get by with? What can I get by with not doing that I should be responsible for? So, you have a whole a society that's kind of living on a bubble, is what I'd call it.
Well, and you don't really have anybody anymore that is really honest. I mean, I remember during the Vietnam War, we had Senator Eugene McCarthy, we had Robert Kennedy, we had people like Martin Luther King, and people that had some morality to them and were actual leaders.
Right, we're actually not one-dimensional cardboard stand-ups for representing no interest, no public interest, no personal interest, only exterior economic interests that back them as a cardboard cutout.
Yeah, and cardboard cutout is pretty much what they are. I mean, and they all they're little puppets, and they dance on a string, and it's all lies, and they're all singing to the same tune. They just vary it slightly between Republican and Democrat.
And whatever else there is out there, which is not much. So
right, and the public really doesn't have a choice, and we will.
Well, I drew a scenario, and I may have done this for you before, but back in the 70s, I made in the range of say $1,000 a week. Well, a new car at that time was about $2,500, and a brand new GT Celica, in fact, across from my office was $2,500. And I thought, well, that's 2.5 weeks' work to buy that new car with a check. And I thought about that, and I thought about that, and then I thought recently, well, my Lord, now that same car is 12 times that. Did wages go up to $12,000 a week?
Not mine, not yours.
Nobody's I know. Nobody I know, and I know surgeons and lawyers and everything, and most of them don't do that either. So, something has happened in the economy. One of the things that has transpired during that time frame is, we have a lot of these bureaucratic, political, whatever hacks in there that are inserting layers of money vacuums in the system and sucking it out from every crevice and hole that exists and draining it dry. So you have a huge cash flow at the top, and at the bottom, people with nothing.
Yeah. Actually, I had this somewhere. I can't find it this quick, but the top 0.0001% owns an incredible percentage, and then when you get down to the top,
I think 0.001 owns like 45% or something
of the world. Yeah.
Of the world, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have literally not even 1% of the 1%. I mean, take the total people that are the 1%, and then take less than 1% of that controls half of them.
Yeah. And it really.
We don't have the money. We can't afford to take our grandparents, and since I'm a grandparent, I can say that, off of, provide for them with medicine or food. We keep them in poverty, and yet we're on these world adventures everywhere, creating massive amounts of hatred for our country that's totally unnecessary and an incredible waste of resources.
Every hour we give several $1 million to Israel. This little
every what is it? Every hour or every minute or something, we give $1 billion subsidy to big oil. And it's just absurd. It's where's all this money going that we can't have any of it at all for our people? That our bridges are falling down and our water is being, turned into sludge.
Oh, yeah, and it's even worse than that. Our government, which is supposed to be protecting us, that we're paying all these tax dollars for, they facilitate things like Monsanto polluting everything and everybody with Roundup.
Well, yeah, we're subsidizing a lot of that. We're subsidizing
and allowing it. I mean, in my opinion, the executives and the board of directors and the chief beneficiaries of Monsanto should be charged with crimes against humanity and should be facing life imprisonment.
Along with
killing people all over the world. You can't get tap water in America that doesn't have Roundup in it, Jeff.
Well, you can't breathe air that doesn't have it in it. It's measurable everywhere on everything.
Yeah. And
that's not to mention
it. But you know what the United States does? We go into third world countries and we say, we're not going to give you any aid. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that unless you agree to use Roundup.
Yeah, or you agree with this battle plan. Because we're constantly. I gave you a number, but I can't remember it now. But it seemed like we were in 150 or 200 wars simultaneously, or something around the world.
Yeah, various levels. I mean,
but I mean that's totally absurd. What is that accomplishing besides enriching a very few people, that the very tiny fraction of American people that have access to the ownership of, weaponry manufacturers and armament companies. And so, you have a system where it's feeding a very few people who are doing mass killing for a living. And, that's not, last time I checked my Bible, that wasn't part of the reading in there.
No, it's not. And we're headed towards the Third World War, and that will be the greatest slaughter in human history. Folks, we'll be right back in a couple minutes after the commercial break. There's Jeff Evilay on the Nutrimedical Report. Jeff, China and Russia have begun the active phase of Mediterranean Sea war games. They sent the Moscow, that's the English translation of the Russian word, battle cruiser, to hit the Russian fleet. The Chinese sent 2 of their most advanced guided missile destroyers and support ship or 2. Russia also sent lots of destroyers and landing ships and so forth. It's really a very powerful battle fleet, and it just happens to be in the Med as the Iranian civilian ship that's loaded with doctors and nurses and medical supplies.
How convenient.
Yeah, of course, Saudi Arabia said that they've got a right to search it. Iran says if they do, it's an act of war, and they'll start a general Middle East war. Now, let's cross our fingers, hold our breath that, things will blow over. But we're in a place where today, next month, the next few months, literally World War III could happen. And it's senseless. We made enemies out of Russia and China. Why? The Cold War is over.
One of the
Soviet Union's gone.
They're enemies of ours in part because they're allies to each other now. And they see themselves as Greater Asia and on a world stage. And I think because they see themselves as Asia, and again, a while ago I mentioned it has nothing to do with the Mideast situation right now, but China and Russia have about 3 billion people, I think, between them, or 2.5, and yet we have more prisoners than they do in a country with 10 times fewer people.
Yeah, exactly.
So look at that for a minute and think, well, wait a minute, communist China,
per percentage of population, we have more prisoners than any country on earth, and that includes North Korea, which is about as nutty a country as you can possibly imagine.
Can get. Yeah, and we have these prisons that are making all this money, and really the whole thing is we're feeding this huge machine. Now, it doesn't matter what happens with the lives or the families of the lives or, the country itself on a moral level. All those things are out the window. We're feeding this lock 'em up machine.
Well, and at the same time, we're ensuring that the cannon fodder, the numbers of people that are feeding this system continue to grow. If you look at a lot of American cities today, and even our hometown, they have become big ghettos. You have a large white ghetto. You have a black ghetto. In some cases, you have a Chicano or
Spanish
ghetto. An Asian ghetto. And when I say ghetto, I mean a large area where people literally don't have much hope. There's minimum wage type jobs, part-time.
Right. 20 hours a week at $7, which is a gross of about $140, and then you
that
take
won't
out
buy
taxes.
you food. Yeah.
Well, it will buy you some Cheerios for a few days.
Ooh, goody. The box has more nutritional value, but anyway.
Than the cereal. Right. It's like the sawdust in the bread,
And the richest country on earth, what we are is...
we're not the richest country. We have a few of the richest people who manipulate the earth. Let's be clear about that.
Well, that's true. What we have is we are in the grip of the global banksters, you can call it 30 families or 8 families, depending on how small you want to draw that circle.
Yeah, the people that belong to the 0.001ers.
Yeah, and the British Empire was designed to be the enforcement arm and the arm that to allow these banksters to spread their tentacles around the world. But World War I and World War II just broke the back of the British Empire, so now we're it. And that's why we have all these mini wars in so many places and conflict. Yeah, and we can't spend money fast enough, and the system has become so corrupt. It's so
that's what I mentioned
to the people.
Sure. Well, that's what I said. They insert all these layers of money-sucking devices everywhere you look, and the money's all going in at a record level, but nothing is coming out at the bottom in the way of...
You're right, and they're printing money like crazy, but how's it helping you? How's it helping me? How's it helping our listeners? It's helping
it's not. It's helping the people printing the money.
Yeah, not us. And I mean, we continue. We have about roughly 100 million people of working age in America that are totally, completely without a job. And that's not even counting all the tens of millions that are working part-time jobs and working for minimum wage or $1 or $2
or two part-time jobs for minimum wage so they can survive.
And there's a lot of people in that boat, baby. A lot of people.
Oh, there are a lot of them. I know people, I've met people personally that work a job in the daytime, get off at 4, go to another job at 4:30 and get off at midnight. And they do that day after day after day, and they're barely struggling to survive.
Yeah. While we spend untold billions on absolute nonsense. And when, this presidential campaign, Hillary Clinton is talking about spending and raising $2.5 billion. Now,
right.
Nobody is going to give her big cash. All these guys, they raise big bucks. I asked some of my college classes, how many people here have given $100 or your parents have given $100 to Canada? And rarely will you see a hand go up. When people give tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions, they want something for it. And so you end up with... We end up with big pharma and the hospitals and so forth running our medical system, for instance. The average price for a Tylenol. Now, I'm not talking about Tylenol codeine or a Tylenol that you insert in the rectum. I'm talking about just a plain, simple Tylenol that costs less than a penny to make. The average price in a hospital is $49. And,
sure. Well,
and if that's not extortion, you've got some sick person in a hospital bed. You say, by the way, you want an aspirin or Tylenol? It'd be $50. If that's not extortion, what is?
Well, I told you there's a big factory about 50 miles from me, and they make rail cars full of Tylenol powder, and it's the chemical in Tylenol, and they make the same chemical that's in Aleve and these other drugs by the train carload. Literally tank cars full of powder, and they go out of there every day by the train load. And who knows how much these Tylenols actually cost? I mean, if the truth were known, probably closer to a penny for a dozen or 100.
Yeah, and that's just one small aspect of American life that has become nuts.
Right, one little facet. When I was a kid, when you were a kid, 50s, 60s, I have a headache, Mom. Well, here, take an aspirin. And the aspirin were 100 in a bottle for almost nothing.
Yeah.
And of course, that is a natural, at least a naturally occurring drug from the bark of the aspen tree. But I think they're going to.
We'll be back talking about how crazy the world and the country has become and where we're headed. We'll report. Tim Alexander, Jeff DeVillay. Jeff, there's some reports out that are kind of interesting. The reports are a couple of the reports are saying that the Saudis, and it's public knowledge that they paid for most of the Pakistani nuclear weapons program. The Saudis are calling their marker in. The deal always was that the Pakistanis would provide them with nukes if they ever needed them. And the Saudis are telling them now they need several nukes. There's another story in that from Veterans Today that's all false, that they already have nukes, but they supposedly got them from Israel, and they were Ukrainian nukes. My gut feeling is, from what I've read and so forth over the years, I think that the Saudis have had nukes from Pakistan for quite a long time.
You mean Pakistan had them from the Saudis?
Well, no. Pakistan developed them, but
supplied them to Saudi. Well,
yeah.
Well, here, the Saudis, first of all, are our quote unquote ally there in that region, and they get by with all kinds of crazy stuff over there, and in the name of Uncle Sam. And I think Pakistan is part of that puzzle over there, and they're probably co-puppets almost in a certain area.
Well, Pakistan brought online, I think it was at the beginning of this year, a new weapons production facility that, in addition to everything they've already done, and they have probably 300 or more, some would say more than that, nuclear weapons. This new production facility will turn out at least 50 two-stage or thermonuclear hydrogen bombs a year. That's a lot of nuclear weapons. But you got to remember, this is late 30s, 1940s technology, and
exactly.
We developed it back then. There's evidence that Germany was not only working on the bomb, but there are some people that say they popped a small one over as a test over some Soviet troops. And in any case,
well, how many have been tested? We don't even know. We have Russia, we have China, we have the U.S., we have fallout everywhere, and then you add in the equation the nuclear material that's blasting out of Fukushima every day, and other places they don't talk about. And
that's literally, out of the Bible. The Bible says a third in the end will die of wormwood, and there's a little place in the Ukraine that is named Wormwood, and that place happens to be Chernobyl. The translation of the Ukrainian word Chernobyl translates into wormwood. You can also translate it into bitterwood, and the waters will be made bitter. And I think it reflects both Fukushima and other meltdowns that are yet to come, as well as a nuclear war. The list of nations, by the way, with nuclear weapons includes, of course, the United States, the United Kingdom, France, Russia, China, Pakistan, India, North Korea. Those are we officially know about. Certainly Israel, Taiwan, Japan, which is probably number 3 or number 4 on the hit parade in terms of total numbers of nuclear weapons they have, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, and perhaps a few others. And,
what you're saying is literally dozens of countries most likely have them, and it's just a matter of who has them in whose hands and what their state of mind
and they're so dangerous. I mean,
you can't
if you get a war between India and Pakistan, that will wipe out the Northern Hemisphere if they release all the weapons they have.
Yeah, you don't.
It's this stuff is so nasty. The most dangerous substance on the face of the earth is plutonium, and one atom. We had about a year ago. We had a physician who had been the U.S. Army's top nuclear warfare expert in terms of medicine, and he said, one atom ingested in the human body of plutonium will kill you, and maybe not immediately, but you will die of
not today, not tomorrow, not next week, but soon.
You're dead. Yeah, it's
right. And to think that the amount. First of all, we're producing, at a furious pace. We're producing these materials, and they're permeating the environment just the way Roundup and a lot of these other things permeate the environment, including prescriptions in the ocean and river waters and so on.
Yeah.
So we have this toxic soup that we live in that was not nearly as complex chemically or as toxic when we were children as it is now, most certainly.
Oh, absolutely.
Young people are more affected by it than older people, although everyone is affected to a certain degree.
Well, Jeff, we also have, besides the deliberate poisoning, there's something called fluoride that most cities still put in their water. It is a waste product of the aluminum industry. It's a lousy way to battle tooth decay, and we know for a fact that it lowers IQ.
It lowers IQ and could very well cause cancer. One of the other byproducts, by the way, of aluminum production is coffee whitener, which is in little cups that look like half and half cups you see in your restaurants. The main material in that coffee whitener, if you look at it, it says coffee whitener, the main substance in there is aluminum oxide, which is literally the corrosion on the surface of aluminum ground up, and it's white.
Wow.
So you literally...
Pass me the aluminum rust, please.
Pass me the corrosion from my coffee. I need to... So,
well, my dad was in the laundry and dry cleaning business, so I learned early on that how they make permanent press, like shirts and pants and so forth, they impregnate the cloth, that is, they force into the fabric of the cloth formaldehyde, which is embalming.
Right.
Now, your skin is fairly tough, but, you're still wearing something. Yeah, and
you know, not just a little aside, but apparently this motorcycle gang shootout in Waco, Texas, was started with a fight over a parking space. Anyway, go on.
Oh, yeah, that was an interesting, weird thing. But, you know, we've always had nuts that were motorcycle gangs since we were kids and before. I think they've been around almost since there were motorcycles. Not that motorcycles are bad. I mean, but there's always some people on the extreme edge of society. And quite frankly, it's terrible. They shot one another. But if they're going to shoot somebody, it's better they shoot one another than innocent civilians. Well,
yeah, apparently everyone that passed away as a victim and a biker at the same time. So it isn't like they got a lot of the public. They probably, in the long run, the people that were shooting back and forth at one another probably were better off not having those people out in the streets shooting back and forth.
Well, yeah. The thing that concerns me is you have so much spreading ghetto-ish type behavior in all the different colored communities, white, black, brown, Asian, and so forth. And it comes from social engineering, and it comes from the fact that the economy is only servicing the top.
Well, economic and social engineering. You know, when you set an economy, put an economy together that it doesn't, produce anything except for a very few members of the society, then it's a ghost economy, and it's not serving a purpose that is dignified and moral and all that sort of thing.
Well, here's a good. I linked something a couple days ago. Class of 2015, you chumps, and this was linked on my blog Europe. The average graduate with student debt has a little more than 35,000 of it. The whole. Got to move this so I can read it. The whole debt load for student debt this year is expected to reach $68 billion, a tenfold increase in 20 years. And these poor kids getting out, they can't find a job that will pay their debt back, and they can't declare bankrupt. And you have a lot of kids that are constantly being called by debtors, by their creditors.
Oh, yeah. They owe
all the time. And they don't have a job that allows them to pay for it. Anyway, we'll be back in just a report, the last quarter of an hour. And I want to finish up real quick, Jeff, if I can, this class of 2015, you chumps, because there's a good quote in there. I have this linked on my blog, Europe. Our government is a disgrace to honest democracy, if there was such a thing. It is a scam and a deceit. Rich, powerful special interests wage billions of dollars on hollow puppet candidates, knowing their investment will pay off usually if they're successful. Our money system is an elaborate fraud also. It steals from laborers, merchants, and artisans and rewards speculators, insiders, and layabouts. The entire system is sick and dysfunctional. And I think that's a really good comment about where we're at, today.
Oh, yeah.
We want to, there's a few areas we talked about on the break that we want to cover. The drought, for instance, in California.
The drought in California and Nevada, and generally the West. And I mentioned a report of a guy that was standing in some flowers talking about how where he stood should have been 80 inches of snow at that time. And he said that snow melt was critical to California water supplies. Well, he said, as you can flowers here instead of snow, and so our snow melt has not much prospect for feeding the water problem.
People that watch the HAARP frequency emissions and HAARP type frequency emissions have been saying for some time now that the storms that normally enter the Pacific coast are being deliberately steered away and being deliberately broken apart by the HAARP type high frequency. It's all based on Tesla's work. And this is not an accident. Now, there's two theories. One, they're trying to keep the Fukushima radiation out, but I don't really believe that because it's coming in anyway. I think it's just one more population reduction program by the demonic globalist. They want to kill us all. They haven't done anything about Fukushima anyway. It's not
done anything about anything.
No. And I mean, we get most of our food, or at least a lot of our vegetables and stuff, from California. And they literally are running out of water. And you know,
about 60% of them come from California. And, you know, one of the things that's going on now, of course, we have Lake Mead, I believe, is one with the Hoover Dam out there by Vegas. The water's record low. It's so low. And they're really having problems. And they're having so many problems that they're digging a tunnel to the bottom of the lake or near the shore of the bottom of the lake to get water because it's below the intake pipes for Las Vegas already. So, you know,
well, and Vegas is growing. I mean, Vegas was a sleepy, kind of wild western little town that nobody went to.
Oh, in '64, I was in Vegas,
and company went in, and they were easy to buy the politicians in that state. It was a fairly new state, and they set up this big gambling mecca for the West Coast, and the rest is history. And now there are millions of people out there, but the water was always kind of questionable, but now, of course, since they've deliberately have cut off the flow of water to that part of the United States by HAARP, they're literally in less than a year there will not be water for the population of Las Vegas. So what are they going to do? I mean, there's a lot of people living there.
Well, it's, you know, they said on a story I read the other day that it takes a gallon of water to produce a single almond, and most of the almonds in the world come from California, not just in the U.S., but most of them in the entire planet. And so, you know, we're producing millions of gallons of water and literally billions of almonds, and every almond is a gallon. I mean, you can see right there.
Well, yeah. But you know, and we also talked about this growing bird flu problem in the United States. It looks like it's going to be very difficult for Americans to have a Thanksgiving turkey next Thanksgiving because they're slaughtering so many turkeys.
It will be expensive, whatever it is.
Well, right. Didn't you say in northern Indiana they shut down a turkey-producing plant?
A Genio plant, closed because of the bird flu, and 233 layoffs today. Up in Michigan or Wisconsin, I don't remember which, but they had to put down or lost to the flu or because of the flu in just a few days' time over 33 million birds.
Wow. Which means that, one, the price of chicken will go up, and the price of eggs will go up rather dramatically. And you're already beginning to see that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, when I was, say, 8 years old, 1958, I turned 8 at the end of the year, eggs were probably at 40 cents a dozen.
I don't
when I was 20, they were 40 cents a dozen. Now they're what, $3?
Depends on where you get them. Sometimes there are loss leaders, but yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
and they're fed genetically modified organisms, corn and so forth. So unless they're organic, they're really not good for you. And that's the problem. The state of Oregon just moved to prevent the counties in the state of Oregon from banning genetically modified organisms and banning things like Roundup and so forth. We have this monster company called Monsanto, and by the way, there are worldwide demonstrations coming up soon against Monsanto. I really believe that all the corporate directors and leadership should be facing human crimes charges for crimes against humanity.
Against humanity, sure.
Yeah. What they're doing is it's so evil, it's pure demonic. They know for a fact, and they've known for 30 years.
Of what they cannot control, they're taking control of it chemically through things that we put in our bodies and things that we spray on our food and our things that are in our processed beverages and foods. So we're channeled into a chemical soup that,
and it's changing our DNA. And if Dr. Deagle were here, he would go, I'm sure, into the specifics of how Roundup changes one's DNA. But what we're finding more and more is
on that molecular level.
Oh, yeah. It recently in Argentina, and I've read two different figures. One was 100,000, one was 40,000. But physicians and health providers signed this petition to urge the government in Argentina to ban Roundup. And
well, that's happened in multiple countries, not the identical series of events, but all over the world, people are awakening. And, back to that drought question, I mean, how many wineries are in the Napa Valley, how many olive growers, how many nut growers, how many vegetable growers, the celery, the chilies, the tomatoes, the lettuce, all those things require massive amounts of water that's simply not there anymore.
Yeah, and it's not there because it's being deliberately interfered with. And some people have a problem trying to grasp that and believe it. But if you look at the forest, all the different things that are being done all over the world, you realize that the people at the highest levels aren't just crooked. They're not just evil. It's really demonic.
Satanic, yes.
Yeah. But anyway, we got some static in the background. But as we progress through this year, I'm really very, very concerned about a total economic collapse.
Well, we did talk about the student loan debt. We didn't talk about it on the show, but we did talk about it on the break. And, there are American students getting out of college, and they owe six figures in loans at 4 times the interest rate the student loans used to be before they were privatized, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway,
a lot of countries in Europe
are giving
they give them
kids free college. Yeah, and a monthly stipend of $1,000 or more, plus room and board. They would pay a U.S. student if they went there the same thing. And to think that people from the U.S., these young kids, can go to a foreign country and get all of that for free, and kids graduate here and owe so much crushing debt they can't even ever buy a house or a car anymore.
Crazy. Thank you very much, my dear friend Jeff, for being on again. Dr. Deagle will be back tomorrow. He had some dental surgery. That's why he was off today. Folks, God bless, and get right with God. We're in some really crazy times. This is Tim Alexander and Jeff DeBelay. Thanks.